This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. Time is fast running out for Senate Democrats to pass a health care reform bill before Christmas. They still don't have the votes tonight. And even if a bill does get through, it won't have the public option President Obama's liberal supporters so desperately want. And more of them are blaming him. Nancy Cordes in Washington is covering the battle over health care. Nancy, the president is feeling the heat to his left, but one very prominent Democrat came to his defense today.
That's right, Katie, and that Democrat was former President Bill Clinton, who fired a shot at liberals today in a statement telling them to get behind the president and this Senate health care bill, despite its flaws.
The president's refusal to go to bat for the public option has sparked an uproar among the liberal activists who went to bat for him. Kill the bill is becoming a common refrain on some of the nation's most influential liberal websites.
I can understand absolutely why they are frustrated. There are many aspects of this bill which are simply not good, and some can argue absolutely correctly that this is going to be a giveaway to the insurance companies and the drug companies.
A full 80% of Democrats support a government-run public insurance option, but it's been dropped from the Senate health care bill along with several other liberal priorities, concessions to a small group of Senate moderates. On the president's official Facebook page, Democrats let him have it. "You need to get off the sidelines and start pushing for what you promised," writes Andre. "I truly believed in this administration," laments Barbara. And Melanie warns, if this White House doesn't change, I won't vote for you again.
Quite frankly, if the enthusiasm gap that we see now remains in place, Republicans could take over the House, and that would be the worst news possible for the White House.
The anger over health care has emboldened congressional Democrats to challenge the president on other issues, like Afghanistan.
End the war now.
And it isn't just staunch liberals. It's the president's closest allies, too, like Congressman John Conyers, who says Mr. Obama, quote, screwed up on health care reform and Guantanamo. That comment infuriated the White House, which says it is simply dealing with the reality of the political landscape.
I think they're struggling to get 60 votes in the Senate. It's not easy. It's a system that gives virtually every one of the Democratic and independent senators a veto power, and so the White House is struggling to try to get the job done.
But health care reform may turn out to be the boiling point for the president's base, which was already simmering over what some saw as his broken promises on gay rights, on domestic surveillance, and on Wall Street reforms. Katie?
And Nancy, opposition by two groups, Republicans and now liberal Democrats, that's really put the White House in a tough spot politically.
That's right, Katie, especially because the White House has been working for months to portray Republicans as the party of no. But when members of their own party, like Howard Dean, say kill the bill, it creates kind of a message problem for the White House, Katie.
All right, Nancy Cordes on Capitol Hill. Nancy, thank you. Now turning to Pakistan, where U.S. Predator drones went after enemy targets today in an especially intense series of attacks. One strike near the Afghan border reportedly involved 5 drones firing 10 missiles. Officials there say 15 people were killed, though there is no word on exactly who they were. Predator drones have proven their worth against al-Qaeda and Taliban fighters, tracking them and then attacking them. Now, Bob Orr tells us there's been a breach of security involving drones. The enemy has hacked into the system.
They are the weapon of choice in the war on terror. Unmanned Predator drones, operated every day by the CIA over the rugged Pakistan tribal areas, are tracking down and taking out terrorists at an unprecedented clip. In the first 11 months of the Obama administration, there have been 47 Predator missile strikes inside Pakistan, as many as were launched during the entire Bush presidency. 15 senior Taliban and al-Qaeda commanders have been killed by drones since August 2008. But the Wall Street Journal today revealed a cyber glitch with the Predators the Air Force runs in Iraq and Afghanistan. Insurgents in both countries have been able to intercept and monitor video feeds from the drones using cheap $26 software from the internet called Skygrabber. Downloaded drone images have been found on captured laptop computers. Officials say while the militants were able to see the output of the Predators' cameras, they were not able to control the drones themselves. It's not a brand new problem. The government has known since the 90s that drone video feeds are not secure. In fact, in 2002, Video from a Predator flying over the Kosovo war was intercepted by a British engineer. One defense official dismissed the vulnerability as, quote, an old issue that has been fixed. But other sources suggest the military is still working to make sure its eyes in the sky do not also provide enemies with a real-time view of the battlefield. Transmitters on drones are being upgraded and encrypted to guard against hackers. Recently, the Air Force Chief of Staff showed Lara Logan a new handheld mobile receiver that troops will have to use to monitor the coded feeds.
Now, there's no evidence the militant hackers ever altered any drone mission, but protecting the aerial surveillance is a must if the Pentagon is to fully exploit one of its most effective weapons. Katie?
And Bob, this could have devastating consequences in the future for the U.S. military.
It's a serious problem, Katie, because the Pentagon is fully committed to drone technology. The next drones will be faster, better equipped, better armed. In fact, by one estimate, a third of all the new U.S. Air Force planes will be drones.
So this problem is not going away. Bob Orr, Bob, thanks very much. In another war, authorities in Mexico are claiming a major victory tonight against the drug cartels after killing a top drug lord. But Bill Whitaker tells us this war is far from over.
The shootout between Mexican special forces and a small army of heavily armed drug gangsters ricocheted through the streets of Cuernavaca, Mexico for 4 hours. As troops moved in on a luxury condominium in this resort city just south of Mexico City. When the smoke cleared, one of Mexico's most wanted, powerful, ruthless drug lords, Arturo Beltran Leyva, was dead.
This is a much-needed win that they needed to have, and it's important because Beltran Leyva organization manages somewhere between 25 to 30% of the cocaine market that goes into the United States.
President Felipe Calderon declared war on drug cartels when he took office 3 years ago, dispatching 45,000 troops to cities besieged by traffickers and violence.
The only way the government in Mexico City can take on these traffickers is with the use of federal troops.
Authorities have captured or killed dozens of high-profile kingpins, but drug killings have skyrocketed. More than 13,000 dead since Calderon took office. Beltran Leyva's death could spark a jump in violence as his lieutenants battle to replace him.
More people will take his place, and those places will be filled up very quickly. And how they are going to be filled is going to be through violence.
Just this week, the U.S. gave Mexico 5 helicopters to fight the cartels. But with illicit drug sales to U.S. users raking in $14 billion a year, the cartels have the resources and the will to fight back. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
We have an update now on David Goldman, the New Jersey man battling for custody of his young son, now living in Brazil. The Supreme Court there said today 9-year-old Sean Goldman must stay in Brazil until at least February, while the court decides whether to let him testify about where he wants to live. Sean was taken to Brazil 5 years ago by his mother, who then divorced David Goldman and remarried. She died last year, and her second husband refuses to give the boy up. In other news, DNA testing has helped win the freedom of well over 200 prisoners in this country who were convicted of crimes they didn't commit. But none of them spent more time in prison than James Bain, who was incarcerated in 1974. Tonight, national correspondent Jim Axelrod tells us Bain is a free man.
54-year-old James Bain's T-shirt said it all as he walked out of a courthouse in Florida, freed by a judge just moments before, after 35 years in prison.
I am now signing the order, sir. You are a free man. Congratulations.
Bain had been convicted of kidnapping and raping a 9-year-old boy. He was freed by modern technology, DNA evidence that proved he couldn't have done it.
I know from the moment they took the test on me, it's going to do one of the two, lock me or free me.
James Bain becomes the 248th inmate freed nationwide by DNA evidence.
Hallelujah! It's not a sign that the system worked. That's a sign that the system is in many ways broken and absolutely has to be remedied.
Bain had been convicted solely on the eyewitness testimony of the young victim, who defense lawyers said was steered by police to pick Bain out of a lineup.
The James Bain case tells us that we better get serious about eyewitness identification reform. It's the single greatest cause of the conviction of the innocent.
Florida law grants former inmates found innocent $50,000 for each year they spent in prison. That means James Bain is entitled to $1.75 million.
Well, I can't even imagine that type of money right now. My family is the only thing I can imagine at this moment.
The first thing he did as a free man was call his mother, using a cell phone for the very first time. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, New York.
At the Global Climate Summit today, the U.S. and China sought to clear the air in more ways than one. The two countries have been at odds over tracking greenhouse gas emissions. But with President Obama due in Copenhagen tomorrow and China's prime minister already there, it appears a deal is now in reach. It includes a promise made today by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton that the U.S. will contribute to a $100 billion fund to help poorer nations manage the effects of global warming. And coming up next here on the CBS Evening News, Americans heading south of the border for sunshine and affordable health care. As Congress debates the best way to cut health care costs, some Americans have found their own solution south of the border. They've discovered a haven where health insurance costs just a few $100s a year and just about everyone is covered. Kelly Kobayea has tonight's Eye on Your Health.
For American retirees, the Pacific coast town of Manzanillo, Mexico is paradise. The weather is always warm, every home has a view without $1 million price tag, and a doctor's visit doesn't cost a penny out of pocket. Hey. Billy and Sandy Hunter retired to their dream home in Manzanillo, then learned they hit the healthcare jackpot. Both could have full medical, dental, and vision coverage for $600 a year.
It was a great deal. It was a great deal. And the care is good.
The Hunters bought into the Mexican Social Security Institute, or IMSS, a government-run healthcare plan for Mexican employees, but open to legal foreigners.
When we leave our doctor's office, if we have a prescription, we go and pick it up, no charge. So we like it.
There are no limits, no deductibles, and no copays. Even pre-existing conditions are covered after the first 1 to 2 years.
Month by month is increasing the number of patients from the USA.
Ivan Ocadiz is a doctor in Manzanillo's IMSS hospital. It's new, but without the comforts of a U.S. facility. Few private rooms, extras like blankets are brought from home, and families are expected to help feed and bathe patients. But when it comes to diagnosis and treatment, Americans here say it's just as good, sometimes better, than the U.S. Craig McDowell was taking more than a dozen pills prescribed in the U.S. when he collapsed on a tennis court in Mexico. He went to an IMSS hospital.
And when my internist there saw what I was taking, he was nuts, you know. What are you, they have you on all this, this medicine for.
Was he taking too much medication?
A lot of medication, yes. I say you maybe 20 pills. And right now he's taking only 5, I think, yes.
And he's doing well?
No, he's perfect.
The system isn't perfect here. There aren't enough doctors, hospitals, or in some cases, medications. And those within the IMSS also have to contend with long lines and waiting lists. IMSS was designed for Mexican workers who've been paying into the system for decades. It's already financially strained, and some worry a flood of American retirees could bankrupt it. The Hunters would like to see their own government come up with an alternative.
I wish they could stop arguing and find a way to help as many people as are helped. This is a simple, you know, it's not perfect, but a lot of people get good care.
Without it, the Hunters would struggle to afford paradise in their golden years. Kelly Kobayea, CBS News, Manzanillo, Mexico.
The search for happiness may be over. It's in Louisiana. That, at least, is according to a study today that says the Cajun state is the happiest state in America. And New York, I'm sad to report, the least happy. The researchers based the rankings on quality of life factors and on a survey that asked Americans how satisfied they are with their lives. And we end tonight with a woman who has a special eye for spotting a symbol of happiness everywhere she goes. And John Blackstone tells us she's using that talent to help give children a brighter future.
Are these for me?
In her work running a daycare, Ruth Kaiser is surrounded by smiling faces, and not just on the children.
See how this is one?
She calls them spontaneous smileys, things that just happen to look like they're grinning.
They're just everywhere.
She began photographing these a couple of years ago, and her collection grows almost daily. She's never without her camera because a smiley can turn up in the most unlikely of places.
Then you have to.
Oh, okay.
See? That's a pretty good one.
That's a great one. 2 bolts and a crack in a wooden beam, looked at just the right way, become another spontaneous smiley. She starts by looking them in the eyes.
2 of anything. See 2 here. You think, look at that big one.
In Ruth's happy world, her shoes smile back, and even a trash can returns a grin.
Look at like this.
Okay.
See? 2 eyes, and then here's the smile.
Yeah.
So it's completely upside down, but it's a great one.
So in February, she launched a website where anyone can contribute their smiling discoveries. She's using smileys to raise money for a group that repairs facial deformities in children. Her works are on sale in a small gallery. And in a recent ad, American Express has discovered smileys.
You stumble on one, and then you have a moment of, ah!
But Ruth does have one frustration. For years, she's looked at the Golden Gate Bridge and seen a big grin over there, but never been able to find the eyes. So maybe we can put a smile on her face with this. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
Very cute, John. And if you want to help Operation Smile, you can find out how at our website, cbsnews.com. And that is the CBS Evening News for tonight. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.